Hi guys, and welcome to what is going to be the first of many episodes of my new mini show thing I'm doing, which I'm currently calling Trekking Books. I don't know, it's a working title, but basically I'm going to be reviewing Star Trek books that I read as and when I read them. Which means there isn't going to be a very specific release schedule to this because I can only read obviously when I can read, so if work gets in the way and stuff like that, the schedule's going to be different. It also depends on the length of the book. But first, for the first episode, we're going to be reviewing Disavowed, Section 31 Disavowed. So, Disavowed is the fifth Section 31 book, and it was written by David Mack, who has written a lot of good Star Trek books. He's going to show up probably quite often in this series. And the main character of Disavowed is Julian Bashir of Deep Space Nine. It also co-stars Serena Douglas, the augmented savant, also from Deep Space Nine. So, where to begin? Disavowed is set in 2386, which is about 7 years after Star Trek Nemesis, and it follows Bashir and Douglas on their quest to completely dismantle Section 31. And you might recall Section 31 as the Shadow Organization, the ones who vow to protect the Federation at any cost, usually with no regard for the law or treaties with other nations or even loss of life. This isn't the first time that Bashir has encountered Section 31, which is why he wants to completely get rid of them. He wants them gone. He doesn't agree with their methods, their philosophy, anything. He wants them gone. So Bashir and Douglas together, they infiltrate Section 31. They join them just so that they can bring them down from within. They figure the best way to take them down is from within. And they wind up joining 31's mission, which is to prevent the Breen from infiltrating the mirror universe and stealing technology from there. So the bulk of the story actually takes place in the mirror universe, where technology has advanced in different ways, and in fact even beyond the Prime universe in a lot of ways. This means that we get to see different ships, different styles of ships, different weapons, lots of different technology that we're not used to in Prime Trek. We also get a great deal of background information on Memory Omega. Memory Omega essentially being the mirror equivalent of Section 31. There's also a lot of very cool side plots and stories in the book. There's a story about the mirror universe Dominion. We follow the Prime universe Breen who are infiltrating the mirror universe. And we even get a little kind of cute story of an Obsidian Order operative and how they're reeling still in the mirror universe from the defeat of the Klingon alliance. The story is incredibly fast-paced and detail-filled, which makes it very exciting to read. You never feel like nothing's happening. There's no point in the book where it just sort of stops. There's always something happening. I would say that if you have an interest in Bashir, in Section 31, or the Mirror Universe, in the grand scheme of things, then I recommend this book for you. Genre-wise, I would say it is very much a spy thriller set in Star Trek, but there's a lot more to it than that. As I said, there's a lot of side plots, and I would say it very much is a Deep Space Nine style story. Whilst it makes references to previous stories and books, it never felt like you had to have read those or even seen those episodes to understand this book. You can successfully... any information you need for the story is in the story. It does mean that if you read the other books, you might appreciate it in a different way, but it doesn't mean that you're going to be missing out on anything. This story manages to be both self-contained and connected to the larger scheme of things. It's connected to the Trek universe. Pretty much like any good TV episode or movie from Star Trek. David Mack manages to capture the Star Trek aesthetic in most of his books, but this one he really manages to do really well. Like I said, it feels like a Deep Space Nine episode, so there's a lot of emotion in there, there's a lot of philosophy. A lot of the story comes from the philosophy, like the conflicting philosophies of different groups. Section 31, Memory Omega, the Commonwealth, the Federation, the Breen, the Dominion, Bashir himself. Doesn't mean that there's no action in the story. As I said, I would say if I to compare it again to Deep Space Nine, I would say this feels very much like midway to late Deep Space Nine, specifically with the Dominion War. So there is action, but there is also like you still have the philosophical and as I said, it's basically very much it's Deep Space Nine. If you like Deep Space Nine, you're going to enjoy this because David Mack, as I said, manages to capture that aesthetic perfectly. It's a exciting story and an emotional story. Any Star Trek fan will probably regret not reading this one. Highly recommend it. Probably 5 out of 5 if I was ever going to do a rating system, which I probably won't do in future episodes, but highly recommend it. Check out Section 31 Disavowed when you can.